because waiting in a ski line 6 feet apart, if that's the case, isn't gonna do it for us.
Hi there. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to cut you off there, Sue. It's 1:15. We start the meeting. So, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Welcome to the weekly meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie. Things go better when you are here. We'll now begin the meeting with O Canada and a toast to the Queen. Dave.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Catorce por delibere, ise por ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for
Toast to the Queen. I'd just like to take a moment to share that our hearts go out to the Garapi family. Deb Garapi's dad, Carl Philo, passed away yesterday at the age of 88. Carl and Anne were married for 64 years. More details will come as we get them. So condolences to the Garapi family. Now we do have, for guests as we're watching, we have our incoming district governor, Steve Meadley, here with us. Thank you so much for coming and joining again. And I think that's all we caught on the list. So thank you for coming. Our Beacon editor this week, we do have two, is my understanding. We have Kim as a new one, Kim Jeffries, new doing Beacon, and Marta, who comes with a world of experience, having done one a couple of weeks ago. So looking forward to that. And thanks, Marta, again for the Beacon a few weeks ago. And Graydon, you did a great job last week. Announcements. We do have Brian Galbraith. Where are you?
Hi. There's a PowerPoint to go along with my announcement, if someone can put that up. I'm just announcing about the Visit with Santa online. We've got, this is in process now, and we're accepting people for appointments. We started it last night with a great success. Peter Lorimer was the Santa last night, and I watched his conversation with the children, and it was fantastic. So we really, my message to you is, if you can please encourage your family and friends to go to the website. If you can shrink the PowerPoint a little bit and go to the previous screen. The website is santavisitonline.ca. So if you all could get your friends and family to go there and register, that would be really terrific. If you go to the next slide, we've had some really positive response from the community. The top one is a comment from somebody who experienced Peter Lorimer as Santa. That was an incredible experience for my daughter. Thank you for making this kid's life. She said tonight has been the greatest night of her life, and she cried tears of joy after the call. So special, so sweet. Thank you all for organizing it. And you can see all of the other comments of people so grateful that we're doing this. So there's two things that's happening here is that we're bringing a lot of happiness into the community, and we're also raising some money. Most people are donating at least $20. We're asking for a 10, and they're donating $20, $25 each. We've got 6 Santas. That's Peter Lorimer, Charles Lorimer, John Marvin, a former Rotarian, Alan Mallory, Jody Patfield, and Betty Ann's husband, Doug Lewis, are all serving as Santas. We could do with more Santas. Ian Pavlik, full kudos to this gentleman. He has, I think, just backed away from his company completely and is fully on board with running this administration of this project. So if you're interested in joining forces with these people and being a Santa, we would welcome you. Thanks, Ian, for being such a great administrator. Project is going well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brian. And we do have a car rally. Are we doing this?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got the car rally on.
And let's just see if I've got sounds shared. Sorry.
Hello, I'm Julia from the Rotaract Club of Barrie. Rotaract Club and the Barrie Rotary Club have come together to create a car rally for all the Rotary clubs in Barrie. So this car rally consists of 10 different locations. You visit each location, answer a trivia question, and take a picture at each location. There are prizes to be won, and the event must be completed by 4 o'clock on December 19th. That night at 7 p.m., there will be a Zoom call where we will announce prize winners as well as show some pictures from the event. So how do you participate? Well, you donate $5 to a charity of your choice. We will recommend Youth Haven. Go to CanadaHelps.org. You can find Youth Haven there. And then send the confirmation of your donation to president@barrierotaract.ca, and then the passport will be sent to you. While you're out and about visiting all these locations, we do recommend visiting a drive-through to help support our local economy. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself at the president@barrierotaract.ca, or you can speak to Eric Dean, Wayne Dennis, or Alan Mallory. Thanks, everybody, and I hope you have fun.
Oh, great, thanks so much. And we have a moose milk announcement.
Thanks, President Deb. I will unmask so you can hear me better. Yes, Moose Milk is on. It is virtual. Check your emails. Sent you one today with lots of detail. Peter Lorimer is building Moose Milk for us, so but you do have to pre-order. You have to reserve your portion. And John O'Brien and the crew at Wildwood is building a special moose meal. Again, you've got to pre-order that. Monday at noon is the deadline for both. So please read the email you got this morning. Use the online link to order meals and look at the instructions. I know you can follow instructions. I trust you. So check in for Moose Milk and we'll have a great meeting next week, even though we can't be together. Thanks. Thanks, President Deb.
Thank you very much. And I know you're putting in a lot of work for that. So looking forward to next week. We do have a couple of anniversaries. We have no birthdays, but we do have a couple of club anniversaries. And that is Jacqueline Tuckey being 1 year on December 12th. And our very own Rolly Harris, who is 26 years, December 15th. So happy anniversary and thank you so much. As you know, there is a donation to Polio Plus and the efforts towards the COVID relief has been made in your name for your anniversary. Now, we don't need a birthday song because there were no birthdays. Okay, so just before we get going into the AGM and the club assembly part, I do have a message I'd like to share and just bring everybody up to date. So I'm going to read this. So, dear members, A few comments to address Rotary Grace. Rotary Grace has become a very polarized issue within the club, and diversity, equity, and inclusion has been a growing focus for Rotary internationally. You will recall we held a survey in the summer and encouraged discussion at committee meetings this year. It was the board's intention to bring forward a motion at this club assembly. It is a sensitive issue, and I understand and respect everyone's opinion. We are delaying the motion on grace, so actions being taken will enable fair, proper, and civilized debate about grace, keeping at the forefront Rotary's Credo four-way test. Unfortunately, there have been hard feelings and accusations about the process, which is disappointing to say the least. The process we are designing is intended to respect current Rotary of Barrie Constitution and bylaws and provide members with the context and background to make an informed decision. As you, the members, know, and for those new members to understand, the basic purpose of a club meeting or club assembly is to vote on the annual business of the club, proposed long-term commitments, changes to the Constitution, bylaws, and any substantive customs. It has been the procedure at the Rotary Club of Barrie. We incorporate a time-bound opportunity once the motion has been read for discussion, and the free flow of ideas and the possibility of changes to be made to the motion as a result of fair discussion. Unfortunately, we are not in a position today to meet those requirements. However, to help with awareness and in keeping with my style of openness, we have 3 issues to address. Is Rotary Grace a substantial item? Fair representation. The number of votes required to amend a club custom. All very important to be answered prior to moving forward. We will hold an evening meeting in January for sharing the information from both sides consistent and in keeping with expressed sensitivities about grace. The date will be January 14th at 7 p.m. via Zoom with a club assembly on January 28th. Lunch meeting for a club vote. This will provide for background and debate, which will be recorded so it can be viewed by those unable to attend in advance of the club assembly meeting. To support this process, first, I'd like to begin by citing our 4-way test and sharing a personal note. Is it the truth? Is it fair for all? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? On a personal note, we are volunteers. You are volunteers. We are doing our best to keep the club active, keep fundraising alive, keep initiatives happening, and involving our members. I ask of each of you, and especially the members who have been in Rotary a long time, instead of accusing or getting upset because you feel your voice is not heard, reach out to help. Reach out with understanding, objectivity, and support to move things forward in a fair and even manner. You would want your concerns addressed by fellow members. Emotions run high for both sides of Grace issue. In dealing with this topic and trying always to respect our 4-way test means timing does not always line up. It is better to have procedural questions resolved prior to a vote. It is important to provide background and equal representation on grace for the club assembly and consultation with experts on the governance issues regarding the bylaws and customs. Both are important to, is it fair to all? At the time the agenda was to go out, we had several items outstanding and fair and equitable information not in hand. Therefore, I made the decision to hold the item and not put it on the agenda. The following are the three issues. 1, is Rotary Grace a substantial item? Rotary Grace, to some, is not a substantial item requiring a club assembly, nor a vote beyond the board. In many instances, club customs just change over time or fluctuate year by year. For example, we provide our students more than $75 at Christmas or birthdays. Participation. The expectation is every member of the club contribute to our activities and projects. This does not happen, not 100%. There are many members who do not attend committee meetings or participate in activities and projects. These changes happen, and we're okay with that. Club customs, meetings, call to order. When the president of the club or the chair of the satellite club rings the bell. What members do after that is a matter of procedure. What we do during that procedure has no measurable impact to the operations or running of the club. After we say grace, or if we say grace in both official languages, or if we do not say grace at all, has no impact or change from that point forward. The act of saying grace in its purest form is a matter of procedure and is not substantive. The board, in voting to make a recommendation and move it to a club assembly, showed respect for the history, tradition, and emotions around grace. And although being a procedural item, we have chosen to treat this item as substantial. Is it fair to all? Yes. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? I hope so. In learning and understanding of other viewpoints. The second is fair representation. Moving toward club assembly, I requested 2 Rotarians on both sides of the debate to provide 2 taped arguments in favor of their position that would be available to the membership for review. The 2 sides of the debate were provided a combined time limit of 10 minutes, maximum for these arguments. One side provided video arguments that conformed with this requirement. The other side did not comply with these conditions. Only posting videos that adhered to the set of rules would be favoring the side that complied. Only posting videos, if we posted both sets of videos, it would be favoring one side with additional airtime. Both sides of this debate and the members represented deserve fair and equal representation in the material posted to the club, and given the proximity to the AGM, I saw no fair and equitable way to correct it in advance. Is it fair to all? No, it is not fair to the side that complied. Is it fair to the membership to be given a weighted view of the issues? No. Posting one side only will not build goodwill or better friendships. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? To ensure a vote on a contentious issue be given equitable representation? Yes. 3, The number of votes required to pass a club custom. A custom is not a bylaw and should not be equated with a bylaw. Two independent outside Rotary experts and the majority of an in-house panel of Rotary lawyers agreed that specific to Rotary Grace, if required to go to a vote, a simple majority, 50% plus one, would pass the motion. A 2/3 majority is only required for constitutional or bylaw changes, and a custom is neither of these. Thus, for a custom change, the general voting section of the bylaw applies, which is a simple majority. Bylaw Article 7, Section 2, and I have it below in an excerpt, with the exception of amendments to the bylaws and as otherwise provided in the standard club constitution, motions presented to club shall be decided by a majority vote of all members present. Result is the club custom can be amended with a quorum of the club being 1/3 and the majority vote of attendees plus advanced votes would pass. We are now able to, as fairly and equitably as we can, on a delicate and passionate topic, to have a club discussion on January 14th and ultimately a vote on January 28th. Yours in Rotary. So that's a lot to take in. We will share that, as well as we will share the background that supported those documents. And in a respectful way, emails, questions, we're more than happy. We are trying to work through this in a fair and equitable way. So we do hope and have the respect of the club that is what we're trying to do. So to begin the AGM, I'll call Jeff up.
Thank you, President Debbie. I'll now call to order the 2020 annual meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie. I would first like to put forth the motion that the minutes of the annual meeting of the Rotary Club of Barrie dated December 12th, 2019 be accepted as presented. Eric would have put up a motion there for you on the poll. Did you?
Yep, okay, votes are coming in. Yeah, go ahead and ask them to go ahead and use the poll. Oh, they're voting on many things.
You put them all up, I think.
I don't think I have a choice on that.
Oh, I think we might have accidentally put up multiple motions there.
Yeah, that's the way that it comes up, which is strange. All right.
All right.
Go ahead. Yeah, are they able to vote to just the one who's on line? What do you see there?
I'm not seeing anything right now.
You can't submit unless you answer the other polling question.
Oh.
Lump them all together, so you have to.
Yeah, so just bear with us here.
Okay.
Can you end that?
Yep, I'm going to end the polling.
Okay. Just create a simple one of yes, no.
Yep, just going to.
I apologize, everyone.
Yep. No. Okay, that's all right. So. Okay, so we're going to have trouble.
Yeah, you had to make multiples.
That is not the way that
Jeff,
Yes?
we had to do this at the chamber AGM. As long as the motions are covered, then as the topics come up, you can go straight into discussion.
Okay.
So as long as you get enough people basically saying yes to the motion, then we can just move on and go through the discussion points as they come along.
I actually, sorry to intervene there. A motion is up for discussion after it has been seconded. And
Right.
after the discussion, the vote occurs.
Yeah.
Right. So if
You
you,
need to separate the votes. Put them up one at a
yeah, do one for first, one for second, then we go to discussion.
Rule number 2. All right, sorry about that. So we're gonna try, so I quickly reset another one. So the motions aren't gonna have the wording in front of you, but we'd ask that when it goes up, not that one, Eric.
Where are you at?
Okay, I'll just run it from my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Drop down, motion in favor, okay. So motion number 1 is that the minutes as presented be accepted. I would ask that the members vote at this time. Thank you.
Motion has passed.
Has it been seconded, the motion?
Yeah, Wayne seconded it. Sorry, Chris. First time at the job, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll close that polling down. It passed, thank you. Next, I would like to call up Treasurer Wayne to present the financial statements for the Rotary year.
Thank you, Secretary Jeff. I'm here to present the financials from past President Craig's year. Now, just so that we start off on the right foot, because of COVID and because of delays in trying to get all of the financials done, we are submitting to you what we submitted to our accountants. It's been reviewed, but I do not have the finished product that will be done on the 23rd. So to start off with, we're going to start with our balance sheet. If you notice, our assets, if you go down to the current assets, are 343, and of course we're up from the year before. That's only because we're paying down debt. So whenever you look at balance statements, you always see our commitments, long-term commitments at the top and the bottom, and as you pay them off, it changes the dollars. But the things that I want to point out in my highlights, and which is the next page, Jeff, is on this here, when you look at the balance sheet, some of the highlights is what we have at the Rotary Club of Barrie Foundation. We have 20,000 the fishing platform. We've got 29,000. That's supposed to be 29,000, not $29. A clock repair. We got 44,000 that we get to set aside for a contingency fund. Now there's another 30,000. That doesn't show in the minutes or in the financials because we haven't submitted that yet because I wanted to get the financials finished. So what we have in total, $93,000 in change plus 30 that'll be going in. Okay, on our long-term commitments, a lot of people need refreshers, so I just want to go over the long-term commitments. RVH with a $35,000 a year over 10 years for $350,000. We turned around in past President Craig year. We started off with $210,000. We then paid $35,000, so pushing forward is $175,000 to President Deb's year. We are on time, on budget, doing and making our commitments on the RVH. Georgian College, now it was a $25,000 a year over 10 years for a total of $250,000. In President Craig's year, we started off with $25,000. We paid that off, so now that long-term commitment is now paid. Congratulations, members of the club. YMCA, it is not in our financials anywhere, but I wanted to bring it up because it is a commitment that hasn't started yet, but we did agree on the club assembly last year. And that is, we're going to give them $30,000 a year for 5 years for a total of $150,000. but it doesn't start until they break ground. Now, there's been a delay. I hear that they might be a year or two away from it. More will come from the community service as the Y sorts out what they're doing. Okay, so I'm going to just talk about other highlights of President Craig's year. Most of the fundraisers hit home runs last year. Just incredible. We started off well with the Kent Fest and everything else. Wheels for Wellness, which was our last event in President Craig's year, we thought it actually, ended up having like $18,000. Great job. But we knew that Fun Run was not going to happen. We knew Spring Tonic wasn't going to happen. So we adjusted the budgets to make sure we stayed on side. And then to our surprise, Fun Run. I mean, anybody involved with Fun Run has got to take a bow. I personally never thought they were going to pull it off. And if they did, it might be $3,000. They brought in over $30,000. Phenomenal. So all of a sudden, that's where the extra 30 comes from, because we never spent it. So that there, under past President Gary Kopp's year, a club assembly was done, that all extra money from a Rotary year was pushed into our contingency fund. That is to try and prepay our spending a year in advance. So we have an extra 30,000 going into there. Now, the next page is all the boring stuff that everybody hates and everything else. So bottom line is, we had the top line is our revenue, and you can look at each item, and I don't mind answering questions on that. And then the next section is the cost of those goods that we had to supply. So, and then, okay, then you end up with your profit, a gross profit, but then we have all of our in-house expenses, our commitments, our spending committees money, and everything else. So at the very bottom of the next page, we ended up with a surplus, you would think, of 70,000. But there was money that we received that we haven't spent. We have the ice fishing tournament that we have a lot of money in that we're holding in trust towards this year, because we have, so we couldn't claim that in past President Craig's year, because if we don't pull it off, we got to return that money. We have, just a second here, sorry, I lost my note here. We have the book project, which is a $5,000 surplus because we had sold books to the other clubs, and that there is kept for the book project for this year. We also did, we had money left over from past President Ian Pavlik's Christmas fund, which we now track separately, and that'll go into this year or next year. We have our Spring Tonic. We haven't shared any of that money yet. Earth Day, of course, we've spent money, we've received money, and so anyways, it comes out to about, we have about 40,000 that I will have to keep aside for future commitments that are not been paid for yet. So that gives us our 30,000. Now, your next one is your club. Everybody talks to me about, why are you trying to charge money? Why, why do you need money for the club? We're not having lunches. We're not paying for this. We're not paying for that. The number one problem is income. You can look at that and where we get all our money from. That's fine. But the expenses is the ones that people don't understand. Club runner is $900 a year. That's whether or not we have a meeting or not, we have to pay for club runner. That's not the beacon. The beacon is extra. That's another $5,900. And you just go on. Badges and, new members joining, replacement of this and that, our banking fees. So we have a lot of fixed costs that just don't go away just because we're not having meetings. I'm not going to dwell on all this. We have shown it, and I'm open for questions right now.
We need a mover and seconder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So when you could move, ask for a seconder.
I move that these financials be accepted so that I can finish everything off in the taxes.
Eric seconds.
Eric now seconds. I'm open for discussion. Apologize for the mix-up.
Question.
Seeing none?
Question.
Go ahead.
So Wayne, you mentioned that these are not the final statement for 1920, correct?
For past President's Craig year, June 30th, these are the final. They just have not gotten, our accountant hasn't put them in the nice little form. Remember, our financials are never audited. They just take the information that we do, that I review every month, that we pass each month. And all we do now is send it to the accountants, and they turn around and put it in a nice little glossary report. But they're still not audited.
No, but they are our final.
These are our
accounting.
final numbers. These are final numbers.
Okay,
Yes,
I
I've supplied all
misunderstood you. I
this.
thought you were saying that we're having the finals the 23rd, and I was curious
Oh, no.
how we could vote on a motion to accept the financials. Thank you.
No, yeah, and the 23rd is when I get the tax return done or finished from the accountant. What we're approving right now is the actual financials that we are submitting. Jonathan?
Yeah, just curious. I didn't think to ask this till you just mentioned it, and I imagine the foundation is probably audited, but I saw like our professional fees are 14 grand for accounting and other professional fees. I'm just curious why we don't get them audited. I assumed that we would have.
No, we don't need to have them done. And the 14, okay, now last year, in past President Dan's year, our accountant missed their billing of sending us their bill for the finals. So we've got that double one year.
Okay.
The bookkeeping cost is what it costs every month for us to create all this stuff. All I do, and what everybody does in the club, is supply me with items. I give it to our bookkeeper, and they put it in the proper, they set up the journals and that. And then I just proofread everything and then make a report to the board each month, which then in turn is you get the monthly financials emailed to you by your director. And because of right now, the CRA does not demand an actual audit. An audit would cost us a heck of a lot more money than what we're paying right now. The CRA does not request that, but they do request, like I supply tax receipts that we've given out. We supply everything to them, to the accountants, which is in turn a part of our tax return that we file with CRA.
David Porter, okay. I don't know if you know the answer to this. Is the foundation audited? I know it's separate from this, but I'm just curious.
No, they're not audited. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I would say it's something to consider, but thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, no, I'm sure I was unmuted for a moment. I'm not sure if he has a question or not.
Yeah, I did unmute, but I'll hold my question for later. I don't want to get into line by line things here. And I apologize for the crackly chip bag there. Sorry about that.
Treasurer Wayne, can I just mention something? It's Chris Van Eekirk here. I just wanted to say that the foundation is audited.
Oh, it is audited? I apologize, Chris, for misreading.
Any other questions from the floor?
That looks like that's about it.
All right, I'd like to move this motion forward for a vote.
We'll ease up. Oh, we're getting good at it now. We pass the pass level. No, we're not in favor.
You need my vote.
Yeah. I'm going to end the polling.
I'm going to vote here.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Sharing results.
That passed.
Yeah.
I'd like to move on to the next agenda item, which is the appointment of the accountants for the Rotary year 2020-2021. This is a slight adjustment to to the agenda that went out is we had missed the name change for our accountants. So it's moved that the NVS Professional Corp be appointed as the accountants for the 2020-2021 fiscal year of the Rotary Club of Barrie. Can I get a seconder, please? See you, Kyle. Thank you. Any discussions or questions? Seeing none, put it to a vote.
Yeah, we have passed the threshold, ending polling and sharing results.
Thank you. That has passed. Moving on to the next item of the agenda, a motion that the slate of officers and directors of the Rotary Club of Barrie for 2021-2022 be accepted as presented. Any discussions? Oh, I need a seconder. Sorry.
Secretary, yeah.
I see you, David. Thank you. David Tish.
Thank you.
Any discussion from the floor? Seeing none, I'll move it to a vote.
Sorry, I had someone at the door. What is this vote for?
This is for the slate of directors.
Oh,
David?
okay. Thank you.
Wonder if we can find Dave for leaving during an AGM. All right, thank you. That is passed. I would like to now call on past President Craig to speak to this next agenda item. Craig, are you there?
Thank you, Jeff. President Deb and the fellow Rotarians. I'm making a motion from the floor that the Rotary Club of Barrie commit funding of $60,000 in a long-term commitment to be paid over 5 years to the Redwood Park for Lillian Salvation Army project for the capital campaign. First installment of $12,000 will be paid in 2020 using the Barrie Rotary Club's contingency fund.
Thank you, Craig. Do I have a seconder? Todd, I see you. Thank you. Discussion from the floor? Any questions?
I have a question.
This is a motion from last year's board. Has this year's board voted on this?
This board has not voted on this motion from the floor.
Sorry.
I have the same question.
Can I interject?
Sure.
Or sorry, so I didn't know, I've got Rory Quinn and Chris Van Ekirk ready to prepare the information. Are we doing the questions first, or should we do the information session first?
Well, I think we have to answer the question that was brought forward. Was this voted on last year's board, or has this year's board reviewed and agreed?
Jeff, do you want to answer this, or do you want me to?
We have reviewed this. We haven't had a vote at the board. In reviewing motions being brought forward, and the unusual circumstances of not being able to host an annual club assembly last year, it was decided to bring it forward as a motion from the floor on this one. The board, I can't speak for the board. I'm in favor of bringing this forward at this point. I can't speak for anyone else though.
Well, maybe I would like to put forward a motion that we table this for now until the present board has time to review and approve. Last year's board commit this year's board to a long term or anything. So I'm just suggesting that maybe we table it for now, and we're going to have another general meeting or assembly, and we can deal with it then.
To add, we have precedence because in President Dan year, we had the YMCA motion, which we could not have a club assembly in time. So past President Craig's board then brought the motion forward again, and then we had the club assembly. It just, because it ran out and we couldn't well, the board was no longer in power and we didn't have an AGM or a club assembly to do it, it would make sense that this year's board do it and then vote on it because this board is in power.
And procedurally, I second Ted's motion.
Sorry, here's my understanding of what has, we may have done this in the past, but it may have all been unnecessary. And I'll explain what my documents from Secretary Jeff have indicated, that when a board agrees or makes a commitment for a long term, they're binding the next year's going forward pending the club assembly. So it would be, if we go forward into this year and hypothetically the current board turns it down, our board from the previous year can contest that because it was already decided in our year that it was a good project.
But it wasn't.
And I think if everybody could just understand that this all happened because of COVID, and we just are trying to get through to, make sure these people get some payments. We've kind of, I'll say, dropped the ball a little bit on this whole thing over the last couple of years, or that it's taken a while to get it to fruition. And the club it was an innocent mistake, but somehow the club had it posted on our social media that we had agreed to the commitment. So I think anything going forward now just, it kind of makes the club look like we're bargaining in bad faith. So I don't see what delaying this is going to do.
Well, we had the same issue with the YMCA. And at that time, we decided that the board, at the present board, would then review and approve and bring it forward. That's all we're saying. That's all I'm making a motion that we table it for now. We deal with it with the present board and then move it forward.
150,000, 5 years.
To speak to what is actually stated in the customs and what is actually stated in the bylaws, the point of the club assembly is to actually ratify the board's decision. It's not to
I agree with you, but that's last year's board. All I'm saying is this year's board needs to approve. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Ted.
Yeah.
I'd say the difference is also in the monetary value, Ted. The monetary value of the YMCA was 150,000. This is 60,000. It's less than, the yearly commitment is less than some of the. So I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take that, but I'm just saying it doesn't matter the value. It matters the process, and the process is this board hasn't looked at it. So I'm just suggesting that we table it for now, and that motion is already on the floor and has been seconded.
Okay, understood. Arlette, you had a comment? Can you unmute yourself?
I'm just curious because I thought we just heard that a previous board's motion can still come forward. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Ted, but the case of the YMCA was it's still 2 or 3 years away, and it was at the time of voting. I mean, I would like to think that this issue deserves more immediate attention. Maybe that's not the process, but Craig, from what I understand from what you said, that we do have the ability to vote on it.
But we've already announced that we're having another general meeting or assembly in January. We can deal with it then.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
Can I step in for a minute?
Yep, Jim Williams, go ahead.
So I think that the motion made by the previous board, subject to the club assembly, would still be a valid motion. And the fact that we couldn't do the assembly in their year, I don't think that dies at the end of their year. I think the commitment is there. However, I think that now we need to be voting on the same motion. And this motion as presented today isn't the same wording as what was approved by the board a year ago. Now it's been added in. There's a line in there about using the emergency fund to go ahead and make the first payment. And that was never part of the original motion. So if the motion changes, then I think the new board has to approve it. If the motion stays the same, then I think we're okay with the assembly. But on a bigger picture, I'd be a little concerned that we're embarking on a long-term commitment, not the biggest we've ever done by any stretch, but it seems a little bizarre to me that we're having to dip in to our emergency fund in order to make the first payment. That worries me a little bit. And then the other thing, when it says payment for 2020, are we talking the calendar year 2020 or the Rotary year 2021? So those would be my comments. So getting back to what Ted has said, since we have an assembly coming up, if the board feels that they want to go back to the original motion, that's one thing. If not, I think they should look at the new motion, approve it, and then bring it forward.
So if I can speak to the addition of the $12,000 being taken from the contingency fund, the concern obviously is that this year fundraising is obviously down, and if we were to table it as the motion read, it would be difficult. The club isn't tied to that $60,000 split up in annual payments, and we can pay it out whenever we want. So we could say, yes, we're not going to make a payment on that this year if we didn't have the money. However, with conversation with Wayne, Treasurer Wayne, about just kind of past history with the club, we felt it was important that we don't miss a payment on a goal that we set for ourselves. And had we passed this, if we had actually had the technology available and understood it well enough to be able to hold a club assembly in our year, I look at it and I say that it wouldn't have changed anything. Deb's year would have been bound by this if it had passed at the club assembly, and we would have been looking to try to either figure out where we're going to get this $12,000. And at the end of Deb's year, they're going to have that same challenge. If they don't have enough money to make their commitments, are they going to make another motion to go back to it? So I thought this was the simplest way to communicate where the money could come from that makes the most sense, that doesn't dip into a tight budget already with the current board, and to get it moving forward. It seems to be a strong concern with the club that we are, as I said, it looks like we haven't been playing in good faith with the Redwood people in dragging this out. So I was just hoping to get it done. I was hoping to get that first payment done in 2020, just to, for the optics of it, that it was kind of paid out under our board as opposed to Deb's board, like that, just that the appearance of it.
Jim's point.
Sorry, you're not on.
Jim's point is still valid. The motion has changed from what was voted on by last year's board. So I agree that it should be voted on by this year's board.
I agree. So is there a way that I should alter this to make it work then, or not?
Well,
how far are they in
construction? I could probably make this a little easier. We do have a motion on the floor that we table this until next meeting so that the board has time to discuss, review, and then approve. So I would, and I've had it a second, so why don't we vote on that? And if it goes in the favor of tabling, then pretty much the board can deal with the discussion part.
Can I ask one question first? How far are they in as far as construction is concerned?
Sorry, I guess I could, Chris Van Ekirk, would you be able to speak to that? Because I know they're right into it.
They are into it? Okay.
Chris, could you speak to where they are right now?
Yeah, I can. They're currently doing site works. Construction is going to start in the spring.
Okay, so the original motion that was approved by the board was conditional upon commencement of construction. So at this point, have they started construction? Or are they just doing some ground movement surveying, putting in some stakes?
Construction.
Like the original motion had a conditional on commencement of construction.
can we deal with Ted's motion?
Yep,
And
I'm
then,
gonna.
then it's simple.
Yep. So what I'm putting forward to vote is, if you vote in favor, you are voting in favor of tabling the motion until such time this current board's year can review the matter. So can we post that poll? Yeah. Again, if you vote in favor, you're voting in favor of tabling this discussion. And make sure we get all the votes in. Okay, thank you. Can you? Okay, we're going to close the voting. Okay.
What are your pre-votes?
There's no pre-vote on the table.
This is about tabling.
Can you end the polling?
Motion, sorry.
And we voted. No.
Okay.
Thank you. We're going to close the polling. And share. All right. So the motion before us is as read. The Rotary Club of Barrie commit funding of $60,000 long-term commitment to be paid over 5 years to the Redwood Park for Lillian Salvation Army project for their capital campaign. First installment of $12,000 will be paid in 2020 using the Barrie Rotary Club's contingency fund. Craig motion. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
No.
Open it up for discussion.
No.
Well, it's more to the point of there's a lot of debate over the wording here. So my suggestion is that we deal with it here and now. I think it looks better of the club. I have a feeling that we're all in favor of this in the majority anyway. So let's just work together right now to get the right wording so that we're comfortable. If I don't think it makes sense to delay by a month or two because of a word here or there, let's just work together. Let's get it right and let's vote.
This guy's got the answer.
Go ahead, John.
Can we just take out the installment being paid from the contingency fund? It's semantics on where the money's coming from. I'm sure there's money in the charitable foundation that might be matched. I think that's the main thing. And then it almost takes it back to the original motion anyway. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
It also makes sense going to the old one as well, because according to the Constitution, we cannot vote on anything that is not agreed upon by the board first. So if the board changes this motion, then we can't.
To your point, David, the board did approve this. It doesn't.
Not the wording. The last year's board was different wording.
It's different. No, we will have this debate, but it's.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying it's you change the wording now to use the contingency fund, which is not part of the original motion.
Understood. I'll let Treasurer Wayne speak to that.
Oh, get this mask off. Okay, fellow Rotarians. The reason we're using a contingency fund, because I have a mandate that in past President Craig's year, even though we had extra money and we knew it and we wanted to put it towards Redwood, I couldn't because we didn't have the motion passed. It is unfair to take money, because we're putting 30,000 in the contingency fund, higher than we have because of fund run. Our motion is to take some of that back so that everybody knows to pay the first year of the of Redwood. It is unfair to have President's Day year become a minus, and someone said foundation. We've already used up basically all the foundation money that they're giving to us. Now, if they have extra, that's fine. But based on our financials, it's unfair to have her as a year where it's going to be a minus, because we can't possibly make that money up. And in President Craig's or past President Craig's year, afterwards we knew we had the money to pay Redwood, but we couldn't get the club assembly done. That's why we put that in there, and it has to go the way it is. Sorry.
Sorry, Wayne. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
if we pass the motion the way it is, at the end of the year, if there isn't enough money left over in Deb's year to make that commitment, can the board not just agree to use whatever is required from the contingency fund to top up the commitment?
No.
Or to meet their commitments, I guess is what I'm asking. And does it, or does that, it wouldn't have to come to a club assembly. The board could just make that decision, correct?
No, that is not true, because we have to take the money from the contingency fund, which is mandated. It is for future, like the following year's bills. I'm trying to keep it all nice and neat. In your year, we could have, it would have been nice to set that money aside, but Club Assembly told me from Gary Kopp's year, I had to put it all into contingency, which is the 30,000. And I don't believe any president should have a minus year because all of a sudden there's some accounting.
I don't think we're saying that we can't get the money.
Arlette has a question.
We're just saying that that's not part of the original motion. The original motion was not contingency. You've added that to it, so it's a different motion. That's all we're saying here. Take it back to the original motion from last year and vote on it.
Well, we can't.
Sorry, can I just make a point, Wayne, with regard to the charitable foundation? To date, the foundation has paid to the Rotary Club $4,100 out of $18,000. So there is money available from the foundation for this motion if we need, if it is requested of us.
And I appreciate that, but we know there's a bunch of other monies on the foundation.
I'm sorry, say that again. Can't hear you.
We have other commitment that money's going to be used for from the foundation.
Subject to the foundation's approval.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, but the asks are starting to come in now. Community Services got some asks, and that was all set up. So that money basically is spoke for. We just haven't finalized it, and you haven't
asked for it.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah. Well, we ask as we need it, and we know what's coming down.
Okay, fair enough.
From Community Service and some other groups.
Wayne, I have a question. And folks, I apologize, I don't mean to drag this out, but it's burning in my mind, so it might be burning in others. First is a little bit of feedback. Contingency fund, I think the nomenclature around that maybe could be massaged a bit, because in my mind, contingency would mean like emergency, and it doesn't sound like that is the case. It's for future year spending. The way it was described in your report, my interpretation of the description was that what we're trying to do is we're trying to fund a full year's, like next year's full commitments. Is that right?
Yes.
So so if we are pulling from that, we are, limiting our ability to build next year's full payment forward. So is that somewhere in the wording on this as well, in terms of, do we not pull from it until it has fully satisfied the next year's commitments, or at what point do we start to pull? Because if we use it like a piggy bank that's got a lid on it that you can reach in and out of, it would be more challenging to achieve that goal. So I'm just trying to figure out, how this contingency fund was actually intended to be used.
It's intended the way that you first understand it. It is to prepay next year's, like the following year's budget in advance. We don't have enough in there yet to do it. And that's why every year, if there's a surplus or extra money from a president's year, in the past, they used to just spend it or pay down future debt. And this year has been completely different with the pandemic, with everything that's going on. And I wanted to make sure that no one was blindsided. That's why that taken from the contingency fund is imperative, but it had to be in the wording. And this is to make sure that we can still, each president makes their commitments, pays their years positive, and for the, and we take out 12,000. Now in past President Craig's year, 30,000 was sitting there that normally wouldn't be.
Question. Sorry, Paul, hold on a second. Jody had a question first. Jody?
Thanks, Jeff. I guess this is for Wayne and probably more about our process, and I'm not even sure what motion we're on anymore. When we make a long-term commitment, generally we take the amount and divide it by the time commitment and make equal payments. Is that something that we just do? Is that something that is tied to the structure of our give? In other words, if a motion passes and we come to a year where we don't have money, do we have the option to say, we're not contributing this year, which puts added pressure on boards down the year, or pardon me, down the line?
That's exactly what would happen. But we have never missed a payment in the timely fashion. We've never passed something from this year on to the next year.
We've also never had COVID, respectfully.
Yes. But you're coming into your, you don't want to have double payments when you're not sure what your fundraising.
Go ahead, Jim. Can I interject for just a minute, Wayne?
Yeah, can I answer my question?
In the past, we have made commitments to organizations and we have not paid them in equal payments. There's been other times, especially our first commitment to the RVH, about $750,000, where we couldn't make the same payment equally every year. And in fact, in one of our major commitments, we actually dragged it out for another year using the idea of a Rotary year is different from a calendar year. So we have done all sorts of things over the years. Most of these organizations that we supply have got financing enough that they can go ahead and do the project knowing that our money's coming in, and we've always got our money in, but not always equally. So I don't think we have to be strung up on that. Getting to the comment that Dave Porter mentioned a few minutes ago, is that the club really can't entertain a motion unless that motion's already been approved by the board. It has that board consideration first. So the original motion that was approved has got board consideration, and we can vote on that. If you're going to go ahead and arbitrarily make a change to the motion now without the board approving it, I'm not so sure we can vote on it. And so that, to me, it's not where's the money coming from. We'll get the money. We always have, always will.
Absolutely.
But the point is that there was conditions on the original motion, and one of those was the construction.
Yeah.
So I think you got to go back to that original motion and determine whether we're at the stage. And I'm not speaking against
Jim,
Redwood at all. I was on the committee that approved this thing in the first place. So I'm not speaking for or against the project.
So,
I'm just talking about the process.
So if I'm hearing you right, the construction word is something that's hanging you up. Why don't we speak? I mean, I think construction begins when the land starts getting cleared. I defer to Bernie, who is a builder. I think they're under construction.
And Jim, if we're going to get tied up in the wording of the original motion that was passed in our year did not have the construction element attached to it. Whether that's a misstep or not, it would normally be something we added, but it was not a part of the original motion. The only thing that I altered with this motion was the installment of the $12,000, and I'm quite comfortable removing that and just allowing the board to decide how they're going to make that commitment. And if they're not going to make a commitment, or they're going to give $1,000, I'm happy with that as well. And as Jody says, we are in COVID and strange times. So I think it's just important that we, as a club, agree that the intent is there, and we work the finances out let the board work the finances out.
I've been putting Paul off for a while. Paul, your comment?
So this is a question, and I guess that Wayne's going to have to answer this, and with Jim Williams' comments in mind. Had we approved this last year in Craig's year with a club assembly on the original motion, the money would have come out of public funds, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So because it didn't, then the contingency fund increased by the amount that theoretically we would have shelled out.
Yes.
Right. So basically, the wording in it, as far as it coming out of the contingency fund, is just to right the ship. So I have no issue with that at all. Whether there's construction going or not, it doesn't really matter. We made the commitment. We have to give the money out. It's just an accounting issue. But to Wayne's point, it comes out of contingency because there's an extra in the contingency that should have been there had we paid it out in the proper year. That's my only comment.
Okay, so I'm just reading from President Craig's board summary, and it was CSM 5. Ron Riley was the chair. It says, Ron moves that the Rotary Club of Barrie commit funding of $60,000 long-term commitment to be paid over 5 years to the Redwood Park for Lillian Salvation Army project for their capital campaign, conditional upon commencement of construction. Seconded by Katie and carried after the current financials were provided. So that was the original motion.
Okay.
That was approved by the board.
Thanks, Jim. Sorry, Jim. Thanks. I may have copied the one from the summary or something like that, but the one that I copied did not have that in there, and that's my mistake.
Okay.
I have the official minutes from that meeting in front of me, and that's exactly what was put forward.
Sorry. Thanks. So
we have a procedural issue here more than anything.
Okay.
I support, and I will make it clear now, I support the Redwood motion as it was just read out. But the problem is, we live and die by our bylaws, we live and die by procedure, and we're all over the park here. The issue is not Redwood at this time. The issue in my mind is procedure.
Correct.
We can't arbitrarily decide that we're going to take part of this motion, part of that motion. Quite simply, if the board is not supported a motion, I don't even know why it's at club assembly. The board is responsible for creating a motion to come to club assembly to vote on. That hasn't happened, it doesn't seem. Am I incorrect here, Jeff?
Chris, to your point about whether or not a motion can be amended from the board to the point of when it comes to club assembly, I would point to Marshall's chat and the fact that the RVH escalated from a 250 million house to a 500 million house, and the 250 was brought forward and approved by the board, not the 500. So that's just one example where a club assembly has affected it. Now, Craig was giving us the heads up to put this in advance so that all of us would be aware of it. But it's no different than it being changed during the actual club assembly.
But my point was not amending anything. My
No,
point was we don't even have a motion to vote on supported from the board, this year's board.
You got a motion from the last year's board that the club assembly could not be held in time.
But it does not say that in our bylaws.
Which doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
And also, the Constitution has changed many times since Ed Harper's here. And actually, it is right in the Constitution saying that everything has got to be considered by the board first.
Yeah. It has been considered by the board. Not this board.
Could you read the board motion to us, Jeff, then? I'm just not clear on it, then. I must be confused. This year's board.
Yeah, this year's board.
There is not a motion on this year's board.
Exactly.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Procedurally, we're not following our procedures. And I'm in favor of the motion, or of a motion that would support.
So then
that.
let's pass it.
Are we going to live with our bylaws and procedures, Arlette?
I'm sorry, I just think that we're kind of flogging something that everybody seems to want to support.
Well,
so to your point, Chris, Ted did table to put this off, and that failed. So
my point is not about Ted putting it off. My point is that we have not followed our procedures and bylaws, how we do things. We're arbitrarily bringing forward ideas, not a motion supported by the board, when you were required as a board to bring forward a motion for a club assembly to vote on.
Yeah.
Chris, I understand your concern for the procedure, and in my world, when I looked at this, I really didn't see how it's a drastic change from what our board approved, which
but
was
it's a change.
Sorry, Ted, if I can finish my comment here. So the 60,000 over 5 years is what was approved, and it's, as I said, I'm willing to go back to the original motion and just let the board. Is everybody happy with that?
Yes.
No.
So yes. I'm going to amend the motion now that the Rotary Club of Barrie commit funding for $60,000, a long-term commitment to be paid over 5 years to the Redwood Park for Lillian's Salvation Army project for the capital campaign project, pending construction, right, Jim? I think is what the wording said there.
I have it here, Craig. Conditional upon commencement of construction.
Thank you.
Seconder to Craig's amendment.
Is that the original?
Yes, it is.
That is the original motion to a T.
Marshall has his hand up there as a seconder.
Yep, got it. All right, I'd like to put this to a vote. I think
Oh, hold on. So do we need any, do we need to give the background? Is everybody happy with the information that was presented?
Yes.
What's Redwood?
Yes.
I can do it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. I will be launching the pool.
Well, that passes. Is obviously we got half of the 62 people here. So
Thank you, everyone. That passed.
Thank you.
Don't get the vote.
Having no other business, I would close out this annual general meeting. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, everyone.
Hold on, I do have President Deb, Stronger Together, Together Inspired Moment. I know all of you are waiting for it. It is an understanding that gives us the ability to have peace. When we understand the other's point of view, they understand ours. Then together, we can sit down and work out our differences. Harry S. Truman. So, having no other business for the good of Rotary, I declare this meeting adjourned.
Almost on time.